All right. Thanks for the list of the ones who registered in your class. We are
You're
now
welcome.
live.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, give you the host so they can make me co-host as well.
Okay, yeah.
Uh,
There you go.
all right. I think we're all set now.
Okay.
Okay, just a couple minutes and I'll have them all in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for your help. Hi, John.
Greetings.
Good. Hi. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Hi. Hi, Lorraine and Julie. Good evening. Hi, Jean. Hi. We'll give this a few seconds. It's just hit 5, so we'll let some people come in. Do you guys have any trouble coming in? Because I know earlier there was some fun.
No trouble.
Oh, good. I was the co-host to a class earlier and I couldn't even get in. I think they fixed it. Well, that's a pretty picture that Carol Lee Adams has. Looks like a nice little forest there, the woods. Hi, Carol Lee. What's your picture there you have?
It's the forest in one of our parks, local parks in Florida.
Oh, nice. In Florida. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Is it kind of a swampy forest, or is it?
I'm in Northeast Florida, so
Oh.
I actually have big trees.
Oh,
Oak
okay.
trees. Lots of oak trees.
Yeah, you're far enough north where you still have solid ground.
Yes.
I was just wondering if this was a spot you could walk in without, having an alligator come out at you.
They're there.
Oh, I know. They're there in Florida. Yeah. I've been told anywhere where there's water. Doesn't matter if it's a pool or a fountain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Verda. Good to see you.
Or a little puddle.
What? Or a little puddle, yeah. Are you in Florida, Verna? Oh, you're in Florida too? Yeah. I know it probably doesn't take much. If they get their bodies in there, they're probably in it. And they'll travel, right? They'll travel from one place to the other if they don't like the little lake or whatever they're in, then they walk over to the next thing.
Through the pipes.
Ooh.
The drains, yeah.
Nice.
Right, the drain, but the retention pond.
The retention ponds. That's it.
Oh boy.
And there are a lot of those.
Any alligator encounters we have to store? I bet you have stories if you live down there.
No.
No. Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
We do.
Actually,
we have a creek that has a great big mama gator, and every year she has babies.
Oh,
She
my
has
God.
anywhere from 20 to 29 babies, and we watch them grow, and they disappear frequently too. She ends up with about 10 at the end of the year. But her family, she's got 3 from last year, and I think she's got 15 right now. But
Wow.
they're very docile. I mean, they're used to people because we all go and take pictures. We walk past the creek all the time.
And
But,
they're not very good mothers, are they? Don't they kind of leave them?
They can eat them, yes.
Oh, they eat them. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. But she's a good mom.
Is she?
Yeah, they climb all over her, and
Oh.
yeah, she stays around. She stays out and watches out for them.
Oh, that's neat.
I finally got up the nerve to do walks with my husband. He always walk in the morning.
Yeah.
So I finally decided to, and we have 2 retention ponds at the entrance to our community. And one day I saw a baby one and I never went to walk again.
Because you know mama's somewhere around there.
Yes.
Oh, boy. I just remember when I was a kid, I had a great aunt who lived in Florida, and we'd go down to visit, and she had this canal behind her house, and there were no fences or anything. This is, in the 70s. We didn't wear helmets. We didn't do seat belts. We weren't doing any of that stuff, right? And all I remember my great aunt just saying, "Don't go down near the canal. There's gators over there." Of course, that's the first place you go as a kid. Anytime someone says, "Don't go there," well, now you want to go. Oh, boy, we would go down there looking for the alligators.
Mm.
Oh, my. But they would just come up right on our lawn.
Mm.
All right, I haven't heard any more beeps, so we should get started tonight. Got a lot to cover here. I want to welcome everyone to Get Set Up. We're seniors teaching seniors about technology. We also have social hours. Tonight, we're going to do a little Art History 101. We're going to talk about the periods and movements in art history. My name is Donna. I'm your guide tonight. I was in the IT industry for over 30 years. I enjoy helping people get over their fears of technology. This session is being recorded. If you wish to get a copy of it, you can email help@getsetup.io. And we are not getting paid to promote any of the products tonight, although I think the products are famous masterpieces, and that's going to cost a lot. All right, so our agenda tonight is to go through the differences between the periods and movements in art history, get a little idea for what the timeline is for art history, and where the famous artists that we're always hearing about, right? Where do they fall on this timeline? So that's what we're going to do tonight. Does anyone have a particular favorite art period or movement or artist that you like? Anyone? Oh, no particular one? Okay. And really with this class, hopefully, I know for some people, is anyone like fairly new to art history here? It's okay. Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. And it can be a little mind-boggling, right? People start talking about Monet and Da Vinci and the Renaissance and all this stuff, and you wonder what the heck, how do they know all this stuff? Well, we're going to talk about that tonight. I'm going to give you a timeline so you'll have an idea of where all these people fit in and how art has changed over the centuries. It's going to be a little fast-paced. Down the line, we will be doing individual classes on these different periods and movements. But for tonight, this is just a quick little run through to give you a little picture of art history in general. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to play for you a little video that will give you a little introduction to art history. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Welcome.
Now that I've got a space here, let me share. Okay, you're going to do that.
What were you going to
Hello
say?
there.
What were you
I
going to
was
say?
going to say about art history. I was just thinking about that. I went to school late in life, was a poor student in high school. And when I turned 30, I decided, hey, community college is all over the place. I'm going back to school. So I did. And they said, ooh, you're a poor student. You've been out of school for this long. But take some classes that are fun. She said, what do you think you want to do? Take easy classes, get into the swing of this path of going to school. And she suggested art history. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. And it was great. Yeah. And I loved going to school and finished it up 5 years later, got my degree.
Good for you. Did she have a degree in art history or was it just a general degree?
It was just, no, I didn't get a degree in art history. No,
Oh,
that was the first class. She said, when you've been away from school, you
Right.
return, then the term was a returning woman. And then they said, take something fun and easy. Don't stress yourself out. Just
Yep.
get used to coming in and getting to know people, and you're on your way. She
Yeah.
said, it's just the first step.
That's true. That was good advice. All right. Well, I'll play for the video for you. Here we go.
Of some of the most important art movements in history, as well as some of their characteristics. There are many forms of art, but we're going to focus on the visual ones, especially paintings. And what better way to start a timeline than by what is probably the most famous painting of all times, the Mona Lisa. This iconic artwork was created by Da Vinci during the Renaissance period, which means rebirth, and it was characterized by introducing depth in the painting, since the medieval artworks that came before this period were all too flat and had little sense of dimension. Oil paint allowed the artist to create many more complexities, and using this medium on canvas also means that the paint can be much more manipulated by the artist, so they could transform a two-dimensional surface into a three-dimensional picture. The good use of perception, light, and shadows was important for the illusion of depth as well, since they emphasize the main object of the painting and draw your eyes to it. After the Renaissance came the Baroque, which used exaggerated motion and clear, easily interpreted details to produce drama and tension. The Catholic Church encouraged the popularity and success of the Baroque style, and the aristocracy viewed the dramatic style of the Baroque art and architecture as a means of impressing visitors by projecting triumph, power, and control. The Baroque contains dramatic contrast between light and shadow, and it tries to draw the viewer to participate in the scene. Then came the Neoclassicism. The characteristics of neoclassical art include a concentration on Greek and Roman mythology and history for subjects, somewhat dramatic lighting, and a rather clean style with hard edges and bright primary colors. Artists sought to faithfully reproduce the architecture and clothing of ancient times, showing reverence for the traditional artistic ideals. Romanticism was characterized by its emphasis on emotion, individualism, and the glorification of all the past and nature. Romantic art can have dark style, showing a preference for the mysterious. Some artists also use the occult and the satanic as a regular feature in their works. Many artists painted pieces of art that were portraits of royalty or moments that capture the spirits of nationality. Realism is broadly considered the beginning of modern art, due to its conviction that everyday life and the modern world were suitable subjects for art. Realism in the arts is the attempt to represent subject matter truthfully, without artificiality and avoiding artistic conventions, exotic and supernatural elements. Realist works of art may emphasize the mundane, ugly, or sordid, and French artists initially used realism to sarcastically depict political issues. Now let's talk about one of my favorites, Impressionism. Distinctive brush strokes are one of the main characteristics of Impressionist art. Painters used rapid, spontaneous, loose, large, and visible brush strokes. These techniques separated them from the traditional painting style, which demanded invisible brush strokes to make the painting look lifelike. Lighting and the sense of movement were focal points of the Impressionist art movement. Impressionist painters usually separate the colors, allowing viewers' perception to mix them. A few years later, another art movement emerged as a reaction against Impressionists' concern for the naturalistic depiction of light and color, the Post-Impressionism. Post-Impressionists extended Impressionism while rejecting its limitations. They continued using vivid colors and often thick application of paint, but were more inclined to emphasize symbolic content and the use of unnatural colors. Post-Impressionists believed color could be free from form and composition, as an emotion and aesthetic bearer of meaning. And then Fauvism took this idea of separating color from its representational purpose even further, allowing it to exist on the canvas as an independent element. Above all, Fauvism valued individual expression. The artist's direct experience of their subjects, their emotional response to nature, and their intuition were all more important than academic theory or elevated subject matter. And the arrival of Expressionism announced that as new standards in the creation and judgment of art. Art was now meant to come forth from within the artist, rather than a depiction of the external visual world. Paintings are distorted radically for emotional effect in order to evoke moods or ideas rather than being faithful to physical reality. And then Cubist artists abandoned perspective, which had been used to depict space since the Renaissance, and they also turned far away from the realistic modeling of figures. Cubists explored open form, piercing figures and objects by letting the space flow through them, blending background into the foreground, and showing objects from various angles. These innovations may represent a response to the changing experience of space, movement, and time in the modern world. Developed in reaction to World War I, the Dadaism movement consisted of artists who rejected the logic, reason, and style of modern capitalist society, instead expressing nonsense, irrationality, and anti-capitalist protest in their works. Dada artists are known for their use of ready-made objects, which are everyday objects that are represented as art with little manipulation by the artist. Using the ready-made force questions about artistic creativity and the definition of art and its purpose in society. The Surrealists sought to channel the unconscious to unlock the power of imagination. The work of Sigmund Freud was profoundly influential for Surrealists, particularly his book, The Interpretation of Dreams, published in 1899. His exposure of the complex and repressed inner worlds of sexuality, desire, and violence provided a theoretical basis for much of Surrealism. Surrealists really like to put together things that are not normally seen together, like a lobster and a telephone. Dali once said, "I do not understand why, when I ask for a grilled lobster in a restaurant, I am never served a cooked telephone." Are you confused? Don't worry, we all are as well. Despite its name, abstract expressionism was neither wholly abstract nor expressionist, and comprised several different styles. What united them in one art movement was an intention to redefine the nature of painting. Born out of profound emotion and universal themes, the most were shaped by the legacy of Surrealism. In their success, these New York painters robbed Paris from its mantle of leader of modern art and set the stage for America's dominance for the international art world. Pop art. The movement presented a challenge to traditions of fine art by including imagery from popular and mass cultures, such as advertising, comic books, and mundane cultural objects. In pop art, the material is sometimes visually removed from its known context, isolated and combined with unrelated material. And then we have photorealism. Photorealism is a genre of art that encompasses painting, drawing, and other graphic media, in which an artist studies a photograph and then attempts to reproduce the image as realistically as possible in another medium. These are just some of the art movements. There are many more throughout history and yet to come. And technology is introducing many more means to produce art. Nowadays, we are able to create illustrations using digital devices, such as iPads. We can push perspective to its farthest using virtual reality, or even print a three-dimensional object using a 3D printer. All of these are great opportunities for new artists to experiment with art's limits, and that makes me really excited to see what the future beholds regarding art. Thank you for watching.
Art history
All right. So hopefully that gave people a little idea of what the timeline is. Anyone have any comments they want to make or questions? Hi, Melinda. Welcome.
Sorry, I had a phone call that.
Melinda's our resident art history expert.
Oh, no. Plus, I didn't get the email telling me it was going to start in an hour, which is normally where I go to launch it. So I had to go.
You know, that email, it seems like at the 5 o'clock slot, it never shows up. Did any other one else not get that email? The one that's supposed to happen an hour before? Yeah, you didn't get it? Yeah. I'll have to let them know about it. Or maybe Lester can let them know. All right, so we just watched about the timeline for art history. And it's broken down to periods and movements. On the left side of this page, I've got all the periods. Of course, we start way back in prehistoric time. As a humankind, we have done art and music since the cavemen days. We have found ways to make music. We have found ways to draw art. It could be just stones, chalk, whatever we could find, we did it. And so that's why we have all these different ancient type periods. We're not going to go into those. We'll be starting in the medieval and Renaissance over here on the left. But just let you know that our history goes way back. So the periods on the left, they end at Romanticism. And that's because art at that point, you know, before that time, especially when you're talking about the Byzantine, the medieval, the Renaissance, Baroque periods, the artists were commissioned to do the artwork by the churches, a lot of the churches, and then by the state, by the kings and the queens and the wealthy class. When the wealthy class would start having artists create paintings for special events, for a wedding, they'll have, you know, someone paint a painting for them. So you would see that happening. By the time Romanticism came about, well, the artists were not working for themselves. So they were starting to paint what they wanted to paint. And that's where we came to the right side of the page where all the movements started. Because then the artists were free to paint what they wanted to paint. And that created quite a diversity in these different styles of art that we see today. All right. I'm going to mention a little bit about the medieval period here. This is some key names in the medieval period. And the medieval period goes from really 4 AD to 1300. It goes really back far. Donatello, Giotto, two of the names that are really big there. This period, you know, definitely art being commissioned by the churches. Just going to show you the three names just to let you see what type of artwork they did. Donatello, this David statue, was the very first freestanding statue ever made. Before that, they tended to be in corners up against the wall. This was a freestanding statue and the first nude. So this was a big deal when he did this. Giotto, and you can see these were, especially the one on the right here, probably was a panel for an altarpiece or something like that, just to see what this artwork looks like. Take another look. This is an example of an altarpiece that they would do. This is quite a common thing for artists to do in this period. The Renaissance period, 1300, 1600, Botticelli, Da Vinci, Michelangelo. Some of these names should be familiar. Raphael. Oh, they all painted. They all knew each other. Michelangelo and Raphael were painting at the Vatican at the same time. Raphael was doing his rooms and Michelangelo was doing the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Da Vinci did some work with Michelangelo. They all knew each other during this time. They look at some of the artwork here. Botticelli, the Birth of Venus. Da Vinci, famous Mona Lisa. Now, like they said in that video, in the medieval period, there wasn't much perspective in the artwork. But in the Renaissance, they started, especially with Da Vinci, he did his shadowy paintings of the landscape behind him, but you could see that perspective. Another thing to look at is Raphael's The School of Athens. You can see the perspective. You can see the size of that room, that hallway going back. The Renaissance was a real big period for music and art. Take a look at some of the works. This is, Titian was very famous too during this period. But there was really a blossoming of art, music. Go ahead, Melinda.
It's pronounced Titian.
Oh, Titian, sorry. Titian. I'll show some more here. So when you're looking at the arts, the painting, sculpture, music, architecture, it all just blossomed during this period. This one really pops. The color on that robe there. And in the Renaissance, there was a revival of looking back at classical learning from ancient Greek and Rome. That's Donatello's statue again, showing it a little bit there. All right, Baroque period, 1600, 1730, Caravaggio, Rubens. This is, I like this one, the Caravaggio, the card sharps. He's got his cards behind his back, cheating, and this one over here is looking over her hand. The Baroque period, it continued the type of artwork that you would see in the Renaissance, but they paid attention more to light, how the light was reflecting off the image. So you're going to see really strong color, drama, more drama in the paintings.
A lot more movement too.
Yeah.
A lot more dynamic, a lot of movement.
Let's take a look at some more of these. There's a good example of lighting right there. A lot of the works are still being sanctioned by the church. So some of the themes will have to do with some of the Reformation, some of the different themes. You know, we think of the history that's going on at the time. And a lot of these paintings will depict stories. David and Goliath. It's a good, look how big Goliath is in this one.
Well, that last one was not.
That's not, yeah.
Baroque at all. That was late, very early, or late medieval.
Well, this is what, 1669. That's,
yeah, the Renaissance, yeah.
It's in the Baroque period. Another thing too, when you're looking at the paintings, there was a copper mix in the paint, especially in the Renaissance and medieval periods, and that went kind of green as the paintings aged. So when you go into a museum, if you see that green tint, that's going to give you a little information there about maybe what period that painting is probably in. I like this one. That's our friend Bruegel, the elder. Maybe, you know, when it comes up, we do have and for people who are interested in learning a little bit more about famous art pieces, on Friday evenings we have an art discussion. We do name that masterpiece, and that's a good class to come into because we try to we pull up different masterpieces and we try to guess who painted it. So it's a good way to pick up on the clues of the different paintings.
I don't think the ark was shown in that previous painting, you know, of the animals going to the ark.
Oh, let's see.
I don't think I can't see well enough, but is the ark anywhere?
No, I don't see the ark. You think it'd be in the painting. Maybe they're waiting for the ark to come pick them up.
No, but I mean,
it was an Uber ark.
Yeah.
Their ark is late.
Wait, I was thinking it might be somewhere in the distance.
I
you
was
know, a
looking
minor
back
thing.
here. I can't tell if that's someone's hat. It looks more like a hat. At first, I thought it was an arc way
Can
at
you
the
enlarge
distance.
that or not?
Yeah, actually, I might be able to. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Full screen. Full screen's not much.
No.
Yeah.
I saw the little plus sign on your thing and I couldn't tell whether usually.
Oh, wait a minute.
Like,
Nah, it's still
no,
not.
it's not doing it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
I'm not seeing it anywhere. Because that's a basket on her head.
Yeah, at first I thought that was the arc off in the distance, but it's a basket.
Interesting.
And this looks like a church up here or something.
Yeah, it's a building of some kind.
Like one of our castle on the hill. All right, and then after the Baroque period, well, kind of before the Baroque period even ended, we have the Rococo period, 1720 to 1780. These are some of the top artists you'll find here, and here's an example of their work. This was a movement that started in France. And it definitely was an extension of the Baroque period. It also extended to architecture, interior design. It kind of went throughout France.
You know, I think that Fragonard, the swing, I'm pretty sure is in the Frick in New York. I think Frick bought that and it's in his house.
Oh, it's in his house? Wow.
Well, the Frick Museum is his house.
Oh.
He built it and then, you know, actually he collected so much art, he built a gallery.
Is that in New York City or is that outside?
Yeah, it's right up Fifth Avenue. Up from across the street from the Met, a little further up. It's fantastic. You just
Yeah, it's a beautiful property.
yeah.
I'll have to check that out next time I'm back east.
Yeah.
It's stunning.
Hastings and Carrera designed the house, the same people that did the New York Public Library.
I'll have to put that on my list next time I'm in New York.
Oh, by all means. You'll be surprised how much famous stuff is there.
Mm.
I think he has 3 Vermeers.
Really? There's another ceiling. I like this one.
Mhm.
That veil.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know, it'll take a while though to figure out between Renaissance, Baroque, and Rococo. A lot of the paintings, there's a lot of similarity to them too. Neoclassicism, 1750 to 1830. David, Angelica Kaufman. And by the way, we do some art classes on the women of art too, because they have a whole different path when they get into art. So we do have that class every now and then. Show you some of these.
Excuse me, you do have a class on women in art?
Yeah, we have Women in Art History 1 and 2, and it shows up every now and then on the schedule. And we have a long list of women to cover between those two classes.
Is it 20th century women or?
Oh yeah, we go through the old people from New Da Vinci and everyone else on up to current. Yeah.
Yeah,
we usually mix it up. Yeah.
I was thinking about that. I'll tell you later.
Okay, so the neoclassicism. This kind of was sometimes these movements, when they happen, one movement will happen and then the next one is kind of a rebuttal to what had just happened. And this is where neoclassicism kind of pushed back on the Rococo period and wanted to go back to the times of the Renaissance. So you will see a rebirth of Greek themes, the Roman themes coming back here. And there's Angelica Kaufman. She was really famous in her day as a woman painter. people would come to see her paint. She was very famous.
That's amazing.
A lot of the women during that time, their father or someone had to be a famous painter, unfortunately. Because they needed some type of access, to a studio. And also during the neoclassicism period, the buildings too, the architecture, you saw the the Greek columns and buildings. It affected all of architecture. You will see that. There's a temple here. Here's a David. This is in the Louvre.
This is nice because they're telling you where it is.
Yeah, this is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Plus the
Diana.
size, if you can convert.
Yeah, and the size.
You're good at converting centimeters.
Which none of us are. Remember when we were kids, they said, oh, we're going to go to the metric system. It never quite happened, did it? All right, so that's the neoclassicism period. We're going to head now to Romanticism. 1780, 1880. Here's some names for you. And by the way, you don't have to write these names down. Hopefully no one's been writing them down. In the email I send out after this class, I'm going to break down each of these periods with the dates and the names of these artists, so you can go and explore and learn more about the art history. Here's Frederick the Wanderer above the Sea of Fog. Now, the Romanticism period, this is the last period of what we mentioned earlier in art history, and then things became movements. So you start seeing this in this period where the art is more about an expression from the artists themselves, from the individual artists, talking about the world around them or showing the world around them, rather than being told to paint something by a priest or the king or queen, something like that. So you're going to see some realism, which is a movement that starts after this. You're going to see that coming through here. There's going to be, it was the Age of Enlightenment. A lot of different, there was a lot of things happening in the world. There were more cities growing. You had more urban problems starting because of the rate of the cities growing. Let's go take a look at some of the art. This is 1808. This is still, Romanticism. And that's, as we know now, pre-Raphael. I love learning. I love this painting. Look at the colors. This is just amazing. And it looks like a photograph. And, part of the reason that some of these paintings the look of the paintings are changing too is because the paint is changing too now. The paint's being mixed differently. So it's 1856. It really was just about, people's interpretation of it's very subjective. Each artist has their own interpretation of the world around them. And you start seeing this. You don't see as many portraits anymore too. These are like the last portraits. That was a common thing for artists, in the earlier periods, Renaissance, Baroque, were to be doing portraits of kings and queens and the popes. And you see that a lot less of that after this period is done and we go into the movements. You're going to see self-portraits, but you're not going to see portraits of, famous people as much. All right, realism. This is 1848, 1880. And the realism, this started in France, and these artists wanted to depict the real life world, people doing their work. They definitely were looking at, just people in their daily lives. They showed the injustices in society, pictures of the poor. You'll see a lot of those themes in realism. I like the waves and the sharks. The waves and the sharks in this painting. When I first looked at this painting, I thought it was all waves, and then you look closely and you realize, oh no, those are shark fins right here. You did a good job of blending them in, don't you think, Melinda?
Yeah.
All right. Here's a nice picture of just people going about their daily lives.
Well, actually, it's a picture of Courbet, of the guy with the long beard is Courbet himself.
Courbet, yeah.
And that's that portrait of Cimabue that we saw
Yeah,
Madonna earlier at the very beginning of your
right. That very first picture we saw, that panel is right here.
Yeah.
Baptism of Christ. This one's actually earlier.
Yeah, I don't
know why that one's.
I realize this is the same show.
Yeah, these are not.
Last week, I was thinking it was going to be a second part 2, but I didn't look.
Oh no, sorry, no part 2. We're just doing a rundown of the timeline.
Yeah.
Impressionism, 1860, 1890, Monet, Degas, Renoir, Cezanne, big names here. Now with the Impressionism, talking about the backlash between movements, realism, it was all about depicting realistic life, and the Impressionism kind of pushes back. Their paintings are not quite as realistic in the look of them. There you can see more of their brush strokes. Really, each artist actually has their own little style with the brush strokes too. This is because it's an interesting period, because you can tell a lot by just the look of the painting which one it is. Some of these artists are very distinct. This is a Monet. This also came about in France. And you will see more paintings in the Impressionism. They'll show some urban pictures because there is more urban life now. The cities have gotten bigger. This is Turner.
Yeah, who was actually part of the Romantic. Oh, they were saying he was an influence on the Impression.
Influenced, yeah. There's a Renoir. Another theme you'll see in this Impressionism period is a lot of outdoor painting. So the artists took to the outdoors and would paint, which means the paint changed. So they're not mixing elaborate oil paints, and they must have had some type of acrylic type paints or easy paints to transport.
They would have still been oil. Acrylics didn't come in until the mid-90s.
They probably had tubes, don't you think? They probably were putting them in tubes now.
They would have still been oils.
Yeah. I like the reflection on this one here. There's the Monet. Well, he did several haystacks though, didn't he?
Oh, he did tons of them. Because it was all a study of the different light during different parts of the time, of how the light changed.
The different shadows.
Well, just the whole color of how daylight changes the color of things. But I mean, yeah, he did. that was something he did a lot of. He did the same with churches and things like that. In other words, the same subject matter, but at different times of the day.
Mhm. There's an example of a nice urban shot here
That's Paris.
in Paris.
Yeah.
But you can see when they painted, they just put enough for you, so you got an idea that this is horses with a carriage and a person driving the carriage, but not so much that it's a realistic. It's not. So they just have you can interpret it easily. And Mary Cassatt, she's an American who lived most of her life in Paris. And she was very big in the Impressionism. I think there's one coming up that some of them did just dots. They really had different types of brush strokes. They have a lot of ships out here. It's another one here. The young girl at a window. So that's to give you a feel for the Impressionism, what that looks like. Post-Impressionism. Now this is the 1886, 1905. We're finally getting into the 1900s. Van Gogh, of course, probably the most famous out of this. This was another French movement, and kind of a natural evolution from Impressionism, except they used really vivid colors, thick brush strokes. They got, instead of, it's kind of like the Impressionism was realism, and now the post-impressionistic people are not, they don't want things to look as real. This one's all dots, this painting, by the way, which is really large. It's in the Chicago Institute of Art.
That was actually known as pointillism.
Pointillism, yeah. Let's take a look at some of these.
Huh. That's a little track. That's a portrait of Bernard I've never seen.
And here's there's the pointillism, all the different.
Yeah, that's Pizarro, with the same guy that we saw that had done the street scene of Paris, and then also a farm scene that was a little more realistic. But it's interesting. He was playing around with this, obviously, after Seurat came out.
And you'll see some of these artists, maybe they were doing Impressionism and then they moved into Post-Impressionism. You'll see people do that, moving from one movement to the other. Some people stay in one place and paint just that one style, but then you'll see others that will move across. So sometimes you will see different names in different movements. I like this one.
You see the nude that he's watching?
Yeah, the nude right here. This thing just cracks me up. Every time I see it, I think of a B-rated, on Saturdays, those old movies, the monster coming up over the hill. That's what I think of when I see this. But you can see the colors. Sometimes the coloring doesn't match with the scene too. You'll see that type of thing. They're still depicting, life, the happenings in life, but it's not as realistic as some say the Impressionism was, or the realism. Van Gogh. Here's your pointillism. This is really a lot of points. Some artists would pour the paint from the tubes and all right. Now, Expressionism, 1905. Kirchner, Kandinsky, Edvard Munch, just to name a few of them here. This originated in Germany, actually. This is where the artist, you start seeing that kind of the, what do I say, surrealism coming in here, where you're depicting the scenes, but the colors are off. It's a little bit distortion happening in the painting, or of course, in Kandinsky's case, a lot. This is what they look like here. You will see, again, the disfiguration. The scream, which there's about 7 of them. Now, this is a precursor here, this one. There's another Kandinsky. He didn't like to paint too many landscapes, though, did he? He liked the other stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, you don't see as many landscapes for Kandinsky. Sheely.
Blind musician. The large blue horses.
Yeah, it's almost part of the Fauvist movement.
Yeah, and you can see some of the, the Fauvism.
Which is real bright primary colors.
And the Cubism, some of that.
You're starting to, yeah.
You can see that happening. Here's the Fauvism we're talking about. Matisse is probably the most famous one you would have heard about if you're new to art history. Now with this is a movement that, again, France has been really instrumental in art. Really brilliant colors you will see in these. They would pour the paint right from the tubes.
Actually, that
canvas.
blue horses that we saw in the previous, that's almost usually considered a prime example of Fauvism.
Mm-hmm. This is the woman with a hat. Another thing with this group is your perspective's gone. These paintings are very flat. You're not seeing it as defined in other earlier paintings. Another Matisse. All righty. Moving on, Cubism. Picasso is probably going to be the biggest name that people will know. And this, all the forms are kind of fragmented. The background and the forefront are kind of on the same plane. You'll see a lot of different, just fragmented forms on Cubism. They overlap. Violin and candlestick. Oh, I can kind of see the violin right here. Well, is it? Yeah, I guess it's right here.
The candlestick's right in the middle.
Right here, yeah. You have to kind of look a little harder on these. There's the girl with the mandolin. There's the Picasso. Another Picasso. Seated nude.
I heard that Picasso, especially later in life, wrote a check for everything. I mean, if you went to the grocery and bought a block of cheese, he wrote a check for it. And because he knew he was so famous that no one would ever cash those checks because they'd hold on to him because his signature was on them. So he ended up never having to pay for anything.
Really? No one ever cashed it?
Very few of them. It was just kind of like, because, you know, to most people's mind, the check was worth more than what it was written for. Now, obviously, if he was paying his $1,000 rent, they probably cashed it. But I'm saying,
Yeah.
he really kited the local grocer a lot.
He must have been fun to get behind in the line in the grocer, huh? This is a woman with a horse. To kind of look at that one a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
I'm not seeing, I see
The
her.
woman in it.
I'm not too sure where the horse is. It's kind of like you have to stare at it for a while so your eyes can kind of make sense of it.
Horse is in the barn.
I guess it's kind of like that arc. Waiting for it. All right, so that's Cubism. Futurism. All right, this is a movement. These painters embraced technology, futuristic ideals. And of course, it's it's abstract. No, it's definitely abstract. There's another painting. Cervini, let's see. Let's see, right here. You still saw the fractured forms. This is
Who was that a photograph of just before?
let's see. Italian futurists.
Oh, okay.
There's a whole group of them here. No, Cervini's there too. A whole bunch of them. It's a group photo. That must have been hard to get that.
Looking very cool with their cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. The city rises. This is the dog on a leash. But it's about modern items. This is a cyclist. Cars, when cars were around. Any type of thing that's futuristic. Dadaism. Oh, this is another interesting one. The World War was going on, and this was a movement. It was formed during World War I, and it's just they were against, they had the negative reaction to the horrors of war that went on. So you're going to see this depicted in the art. Some of this art is kind of collage-like 3D. Show you a little bit more of these. Oops. Oh, maybe I don't have any Dadaism. Okay, I don't think I have any up there. And then we have Surrealism. The most famous, Dali, is going to be from this group for most people, with his persistence of memory, the melting clocks. Now, this is Surrealism. These paintings, the works from these artists looks like something out of a dream. Not much connection with reality. Definitely going to see that.
Donna,
Mhm.
I've always wondered, do you think they're doing drugs?
Probably.
Has there ever been any history on that?
I don't know. Melinda, do you know?
I don't think unlike this
I think they're probably very
70s when the
creative.
psychedelic drugs were out.
Yeah.
This all had to do with Freud and psychology and interpretation of dreams. That was all part of Freud. This really came more out of Freud.
Now, Melinda, you think it didn't have anything to do with medical help?
I mean, you look at the dates, 1924 to 1965, could be anything.
Well, now the stuff up to the 60s. I'm just talking about the
surrealism.
the surrealism of
Very
it.
creative.
Right.
I'll have to say that. It's great stuff, these surrealist people. Now, abstract expressionism, this is the 1940s. We started this movement here. Something finally started here. And this is the American movement.
Pretty
And to
much
show
all
it's
of New York.
very abstract when we're looking at this. Let's see if we can find. Trying to find my abstract people here. I'm definitely
Okay,
on the
this,
wrong
yeah,
side.
1874. I was gonna say, it looks like a throwback.
Yeah. And then we have, of course, contemporary art. We're kind of running out of time here. 1946 to present. This is a lot of different things. I have a list here. You can go and take a look at these people. They're all still alive. Go take a look and see what kind of artwork they're doing. This just show you some examples. Jeff Koons' Puppy, 1992. I'm going to include a link in the email too about the story of this puppy. Did you hear about this one, Melinda?
No.
It was being I think it's in Sweden or somewhere. I don't quote me. I can't remember what country it was in, but some terrorists.
Spain.
Where was it?
Bilbao, Spain.
Yeah, in Spain. And there was a terrorist plot. And the terrorists dressed up as gardeners and they were going to take care of the puppy. And they got, they busted the whole thing. No, they didn't destroy it. It's just that there was a terrorist plot and they were using this puppy, the poor little puppy. And they were going to, disguise themselves as gardeners in order to get in. But I think I have an article in the email they send out to you. There's an article about it.
What's he made of?
Flowers.
Well, it's flowers, but underneath it's probably wire or something, I would think. It's beautiful though. And this one here, Judy Chicago, the rainbow picket, contemporary art can be anything. It can be just a person sitting in a chair in a room. I mean, there's all kinds of art when we talk about contemporary art. And then pop art. This is a small little section of art here. Andy Warhol, you got to talk about him in the pop art world. Very popular, 1955 to 1975, all the posters and just having to do with pop culture. So that's our little run through art history. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it cleared up with you, some of the different styles of the art that we've had through all the centuries of time. And if you are interested in learning more about these works of art, come to our Friday class when we try to guess who painted it. That can be fun. I know Melinda, we have fun with that.
Although some of these slides you get, it's such obscure people. Yeah. I mean, they're beautiful pieces of art. But
well, there's a lot of
you're supposed to know that name.
Well, that's the fun part too.
Yeah.
There's more artists than just Da Vinci and Michelangelo.
Right. Yeah, so we end up having to Google a lot of these people to find out.
Yeah, we have fun and we learn a lot that way too.
Yeah.
Donna.
Yeah.
Donna, can I ask you and Melinda a question? Have you ever thought about getting together and let's do a 20th century artists and really even the last 50 years or 60 years? Because
that would be good.
I don't think, let me say this. I've always, since I took my art class early on when I started college, my kids tell me, and I bought a lot of things from art galleries and beautiful originals, and they said, we're not interested in any of them, just reproduction works for us. So, so I'm faced with, how do you sell an art piece that you paid $2,000 for it? And maybe if you take it to a secondhand shop, you might get 100. And I know there's websites for it, but shipping is very expensive on a piece of art. But so I think what we need to do is to develop an interest for some of the wonderful artists we had, especially female artists, in the last 50 or 60 years.
Yeah. Would you like to do a class on that, Laura? I'll help you out.
I'd like to if Melinda will help me. And if you'll help
I'll be honest, that's not my period. So
Linda, could you make it your period?
There you go. Oh, it's on now. In the Friday
Laura,
class.
I am not with all these classes and just even showing up at. I am so far behind on the stuff I was supposed to do. I'm in the middle of a movie right now that I actually paused. Come over here.
I hear you. I'm a get set up junkie and take 3 or 4 classes a day. And some people say, do you ever get outside and run or do some exercise? I don't have time.
I do my exercise with Stacy in the morning.
There you go. Yeah, you get the exercise.
Gets me out of bed.
Anyway, I'm just throwing that out. And
yeah,
really,
I think that'd be great because
people in the audience want to respond to it. You're people that are here if they're interested in it.
Well, it might be interesting, especially since you're interested in women, is to tack some of that onto Donna's, women in art class.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. I know like was the last Friday or the Friday before there was a modern artist who paints is it Kauai or Maui? Maui. And his artwork is really unbelievable. What's his name? Kosh, Kosh, something like that. We ran across one of his paintings. And then I looked at his website. Really interesting work that he does.
And and the thing that brings it up to me is that, as I said, whenever we had the opportunity to travel throughout the world. First thing I head for is the art gallery because I love the art galleries.
Yeah.
And just recently I bought a painting from Irene Brogue, Broge. Apparently she's a California artist and she was written up in the 60s or 70s. Original painting. I paid $20 for it. And when I bought it, I said, you guys realize this is an original something. Then the other one is Helen Dowd, D-O-W-D. And I see it online for a couple $1,000 and I paid $60 for that. And that's including the frame. It's disgraceful. These are great artists. And I think we should get back to appreciating great art.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're in the modern period right now, and these people, we don't really pay much attention to them. But 200 years from now, they may be the next Michelangelo or whatever people will be talking about. You never know. I
have to agree with Donna. And this is because that's what my son said to me. He said, Mom, I know you love all your pictures and all that stuff. We're not interested in any of it, just having a reproduction or whatever works for us.
I know for myself in studying music history and now, of course, the art history, there's some artists and, composers who were not famous at all during their living years that no one really knew about them. They were discovered down the road later on. So you never know. I wonder
if that's what will happen with our 20th century artists.
Could
we
be.
Discover them down the road.
That could be. You never know. Because it seems like a lot of times people don't appreciate what's happening right in front of them right now. They're looking more back at what happened a lot of times.
What's going to be interesting is a lot of this quote actually, I'm not aware of really any strong movements that have been going on here recently.
In the art world. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
But on the other hand, a lot of this stuff, it was almost sort of anti-art, making a statement that anything.
Right, making statements, yes, like the person sitting on a chair in the room.
Right, and I don't think it's going to last the test of time.
Yeah.
Because I think.
Well, you're going to have to put something down.
If it was new clothes in time, it's going to go, yep, it wasn't art. They were just.
I think the people who are putting stuff right on canvas have a better luck at getting discovered down the road or being appreciated probably than some of the more off stuff.
But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Okay, Melinda, you're in then, right?
No.
Laura, why don't you contact me, Laura? I'll talk with you.
I will.
We can do a modern. It'd be interesting.
I will, Donna. And and you've got the audience and see what your audience thinks, I think we're obviously in the 21st century. Quit dragging all that stuff behind us. Let's move on, look forward, and just 100 years is.
Well, that guy in Maui, I really like his artwork. I need to go back and look at it more. It's fascinating what he's doing.
There we go.
Is. It's very good. All
and
right.
Maybe we can get him to join us.
I know, really. I should drag him out, have him come to get set up.
And ask him what art galleries he's showing in.
Well, he's in Maui. He's got a little shop there, and
I can share some of my husband's work. We made a living off of his work while he was alive.
Oh yeah,
People to collect. He was a Chicago artist.
Okay,
Oh,
and
wow.
who's your husband?
Yeah, gallery actually traded us a Warhol for one of his pieces.
Wow.
wow.
Okay. I'm gonna say bye-bye. I'll see you.
All right.
See you later.
All right, bye,
Alrighty,
Melinda.
bye.
All right, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. We're definitely way over time. This is how it goes with the art. We always start discussing everything,
Good, okay.
but
Do you
that's
have
how we
your-
learn.
Do you have your email or who do I send it to?
Yeah, you can
communicate?
email me. I will. I'm going to put it in chat, and you can email.
Okay, so will
Yeah.
you go directly to me? And I just take a picture of it.
Oops, wait a minute. I did that wrong. Hold on. There we go. That's the proper one.
Okay,
Because-
I took a picture of it, Donna, and
All right.
I will email you, not anymore tonight, but tomorrow.
Oh, that's fine. Yes, and we can talk about that. That would be fun to do. I think people have interest in it.
I think so too. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
do.
All right, then.
Thank you very much. Goodbye to
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a
Or
good
is it
night.
just you? It's just you and me.
We scared everyone away.
Get out of here.
All right. And Lorraine is still hanging in there. Hi, Lorraine.
Hi, Lorraine. Thank you for hanging in. But she's not talking.
Oh, did she fell asleep.
Donna, have a good
All
night.
right.
and
Have a good
week.
night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Probably see you for music sometime this week.
Okay.